So while we get the film set up, I just wanted to get clear about the relationship between the Institute and the founders. Because Bill and Michael had a lot that they had done, and people are always saying, you know, share, 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 and they had this product recognition program, and they called it a certificate. And the bill came out in California requiring people to say what's in their product and get rid of the bad stuff. And I went to Bill and Michael and said, this is what you've been doing for 10 years. And they decided to put the product certification program into the nonprofit. They have no say over what I do, although they do call me a lot and give me a ton of advice. I often find myself being the warm-up act before or after them. So it's kind of an interesting place to be because they're so well known. But I thought this morning I'd do this little video. It's actually from the Berlin Film Festival. For those of you that needed a little refresher on the book or haven't read the book, I think it's the best way for you to start thinking about it. It's in German, so don't be surprised when you start hearing the first voices, but there's subtitles underneath. So I don't want you to say, oh, what language is? Yeah, it's German. It's from the Cradle to Cradle Berlin Festival from 2 years ago.
Es geht die Rettung der Erde.
Es geht darum, das Industriesystem noch mal völlig neu zu machen.
Das im Grunde genommen das Überleben der Menschheit davon abhängt, ob wir dieses Konzept umsetzen oder nicht.
Es ist eine kleine Revolution.
It's just a matter of wanting to do it.
Weil es Rohstoffe spart auf der einen Seite, weil es nützlich ist.
That will change the world for the better in such a way that you can actually make money with it.
Es geht überhaupt nicht darum, auf irgendetwas zu verzichten und weniger vom Leben zu haben.
Sondern es geht darum, dass man für die zukünftigen Generationen ein Leben schafft, das wirklich lebenswert ist.
Es geht darum, die Dinge anders zu machen.
Schauen Sie sich einen Kirschbaum im Frühling an. Kein Sparen, kein Verzichten, kein Vermeiden, aber alle Materialien, die der Kirschbaum einsetzt, sind nützlich für die anderen.
So there's your little primer on Cradle to Cradle. Products that are useful for nature, products that are useful for us. How do we start talking about things in a little different way? And here's a little part of the Cradle to Cradle certification is looking at what's in your product down to the parts per million and figuring out if your product is designed so that it's got some usefulness when you're finished with it. And that's what the certification program is that I've been training actually around the world. We opened our European office last month. We've got 5 things that certification concerns itself with. The first is material health, what's in your product. The second is, have I designed it for reuse? If you are working with us, you must commit to making your product with renewable energy, water stewardship, and social responsibility. There's 4 levels you have to get on the team. Basic is super easy. I'm committed to doing it. I'm committing to finding out what's in my product. I'm committing to redesign it for reuse. As you go up the level, gold is really our gold standard because you're making your product with completely non-toxic materials and the process is at least 50% renewably powered. So Cradle to Cradle is a practice and it's a design philosophy and it's addressing pressing needs. And that is why Governor Schwarzenegger was so interested in it. It was really super to be there with him because he was a Republican who said we can have a great economy and do great things for the environment. And he said it over and over and over again, and people finally started listening to him. So yesterday, I added this slide. We talked a lot about the pink elephant. So if you start thinking about waste, you just can't get out of it. It's like if I tell you not to think of the pink elephant, you think of the pink elephant. So I'm wondering if we can just change our language a little bit because the minute you think waste, you just can't help yourself. But if you started thinking about resources and abundance and cherry trees, you just get in a different space all the way around. What's happening to my product at the end of use? Those aren't trash trucks anymore. Those are resource recovery wagons. I'm not collecting trash. I'm collecting resources for you to use next time. And I think that Vancouver, unlike a lot of countries around the world, you're just in a lot better space. Your head is in the right space. I heard it over and over and over again yesterday. You're really close to making that transition to thinking about trash trucks and landfills, to thinking about resources and urban mines. And that is a place where I think we all need to go because when I was at the Department of Conservation and I was running the recycling program, I had just heard Bill. And I thought to myself, if I ever have a chance to implement some of his vision, I'll do it. And as it turned out, I was the only Republican who could get the Sierra Club endorsement. So that's how I got to be the Department of Conservation head. I had to get the Sierra Club endorsement. And since I'd worked with the Sierra Club, they said, okay, she's good to go. The regulation piece got really interesting because regulations start to level the playing field, but you got to start leveling the playing field in the right way. And you have to start not just doing things the right way, but you have to start doing the right things. Where are we going? Yesterday I talked about if I'm going really fast to Mexico and I slow down, that doesn't help me if I want to go to Canada. I've got to turn around. So getting to lowering my greenhouse gas emissions is all fine and dandy, but we need people to get to completely renewable power. If your product's Cradle Certified, if you're on the Cradle certification team, you have committed to making your product with 100% renewable power. It's so freeing, it's so positive. It really gets you to another place. And that's why we often talk about Cradle is doing the right things. That's the executive's job. That's your job. Are we doing the right things? Are we going towards positive footprint? I think this is the slide that says, let's start eliminating the concept of waste. So when Jerry called me, I said, if I come, I'm going to have to talk about this. Because in Cradle to Cradle, there's no concept of waste. Everything is either being recycled or reused in some way. My product is the end of my product is your resource. In Holland, and you guys are welcome to go over there, we have a great relationship with all the folks in Holland. They have actually put up enterprise centers where one company's waste becomes the other company's feedstock. And they've paired them next to each other. My recycling center is next to your plastic pellet plant. My waste from beer is your feedstock for the mushroom pieces that we were making yesterday. We're going to make foam out of mushrooms in Canada. I guess you all heard that yesterday, right? Thank you, Martin. So it's just a different way of thinking about the whole idea of waste and starting to emulate what we call these natural cycles. Our grandparents knew all about biological nutrients. Everything went in either to the trash or to the goats or whatever was out there, right? I've talked to friends in India, they don't even know, they didn't even have a word for trash can. In India, they had no word for trash can. It's the Americans that invented trash can. In China, they don't have waste paper, they don't have trash bags. They didn't have plastic trash bags. I have friends who live in China who are actually taking boxes of trash bags with them to China. And then there's this whole other thing of these technical nutrients. Where's our stuff going? I want to get the iPhone 5, but I'm really worried about where that 4 is supposed to be. Is it just on a ship to China, or have I processed this here? And what I'm sending to China is a lot of really interesting minerals and materials that get, so now I've got something really valuable that I'm sending to China. I'm not sending them a bunch of trash. We've done it over and over again. There's over 130 companies that have involved in this certification process since Bill and Michael started it 6 years ago. The first one, and then they talk about in their book, is the fabric that they read. We did all the textiles so that it was safe enough for compost. So they took a trimming that was considered a hazardous waste and had to, by the way, be shipped to Spain because nobody in Switzerland wanted composted fabric trimmings because they were all filled with toxic dyes. So there's no way they could go back safely to soil. So they got rid of all the toxins in the dyes, and then the trimmings all became the compost, and they were using part of the ag. So they became part of the agricultural system. In the same way, they've also been doing a lot more of this in Europe than we've been doing in North America, is this idea of disassembly for reuse around cars and huge durable goods. And yesterday I posited the idea that if you wanted to go this direction, maybe you just start a little pilot and start with the durable goods because they're the hardest to get rid of. And start with the idea of, I've got a refrigerator, it's old, because what happens in Cradle to Cradle is you're always participating in new technology. I don't want my grandmother's toaster. Yes, I went to clean out my grandmother's house after she was gone, and it was a perfectly good toaster, but it's totally energy inefficient. Sure, I could have kept it, but it'd be better if those materials went back to some sort of material stream where they could be used for the highly energy efficient toaster. It's just a different way of thinking, and this is how we get started. You look at all this stuff, and that's the red and the green, and it kind of could be your life. It could be anything. We've all got good and bad stuff we're doing in our own businesses, in our own companies, in our own regulatory capacity. How do we sort through those and say, this is the good stuff and this is the bad stuff? And I'll tell you, CEOs love this chart. They love it. Because if you think about greenhouse gases, most of the time greenhouse gases are kind of like you're going down. Nobody likes to go down. Everybody likes to go up. Your greenhouse gases are on the bottom, and you're committed yourself to totally renewable energy on the top. The toxins that are in your product are on the bottom. You're committing to replacing them over time with the safe and healthy materials. I've committed to making my product so that at the end of use it can be disassembled, so it's a material pool. The chair that's made by Herman Miller is not going back to Grand Rapids. It's getting disassembled in Mexico or with all of its different parts. It's steel, it's aluminum, it's nylon, it's all of those pieces become very valuable materials if I can get it apart. If I haven't made this thing so I can get it apart, it's completely useless because now I don't have anything but a piece of trash. So this is how we get to our total cradle thinking, and we start creating new businesses. We start creating new materials. One of the things we're trying to do at the Institute is create a safe and healthy materials database. I know what the bad stuff is. I've got the federal government with a friggin' long list of stuff that's bad. What I don't know is the good stuff. I'm getting ready to design something new. I want to make it out of safe and healthy materials. I don't know where those are. The Institute wants to be that place. In November, we will launch a $250,000 prize for a product innovation around building materials. How we're getting all these green buildings, but oh my gosh, are we making a tomb with all this off-gassing that's going to make us sick? There's been lots of articles about how that can happen. Lots of problems get solved when you go to Cradle. You get raw materials back for development. You create green jobs. You lessen dependence on imported materials. The rare minerals around the world, we know there's not enough of them. Why are we sending them back as trash? We should be hanging on to those. We create the marketplace for recycled material stock. I see that there's a lot of recycling folks here. Thank you so much because you're on the forefront of all of this. What's the market for plastic? In California, we were just underwriting it. You know, we were just paying people to collect practice because the market for recycled plastic wasn't robust enough to provide the money for people to collect the plastic. We had to underwrite that in the state of California. We need to get out of that. And we start developing new sorting technology, because now it's resources. I've just got a truckload of resources that came up to my collection facility. Who wants them? Where do they need to go? We moved from end-of-pipe design to the regular design. We moved from single media to multimedia. We start reducing business costs, because now I don't have, my extended producer responsibility is now our chance for redesign, because I'm going to get this back and you're going to tell me that you want it, and this is where I think this starts. We create technology, we drive innovation, and we create high-wage jobs. The state of California, we had the Conservation Corps, all these at-risk kids, and they were collecting bottles and cans, and I'm like, wow, there ought to be something better for them. Green chemistry. We can drive an innovation engine. Here are just some of the companies that have participated with us. You may recognize some of them. Many of them are Fortune 500 companies. One of our biggest successes is the U.S. Post Service. And if you ever come to the States, go into the post office. All of their products are Cradle to Cradle certified. And the other thing they want to be, and this could happen in Vancouver, is they want to be the world's greatest take-back system. They're coming to my house anyway. They're happy to take my grandmother's toaster. They're happy to take my old iPhone. All you have to do is set up the system, and I guarantee you somebody in BC wants to do the same thing. They want to be the take-back system, because as we have more stuff, if we don't want to mine the hell out of the world, we need to make that stuff go around. So we want to imagine a world where waste is food, all materials are safe and healthy, and everything is 100% renewably powered, where consumption becomes a good thing. My less is someone else's more. We can reduce all we want in North America, but someone in China is looking at us and saying, I want a car, I want an air conditioner, I want a refrigerator. If we can start to model this safe and healthy world, we can actually create a positive footprint. Not a zero footprint, a positive footprint. So I hope this is not too in your face, but I just feel like this community is really on the cutting edge. I was telling people yesterday I spent $1 million to find out that Vancouver's recycling program was the best in the world. So congratulations on your recycling, keep it up. And I'm glad to be here and talk to the rest of you guys about creating a positive footprint. Thank you.